You're listening to Three's a Crowd, the North East Footy podcast, with Rye for Borough, Steve for Newcastle United, and Ted for Sunderland.
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're tuning in from. Welcome to Three's a Crowd, the Northeast Football Podcast, where we talk about Newcastle, Sunderland, and badminton. That's right, badminton. If you don't know what badminton is, just get on your Googles or whatever, ask Grok or your AI, because that's all we talk about in the third
Played with
segment.
a cock, isn't it?
Because
so is that.
Have a look at him. Have a look at him. The stud. We've got a model. We've got a model. Look at it.
I for Weight Watchers.
Who's not on the end? On the far left.
He hates it. He hates it. Hey, I took Grays out of your goatee.
Why is the true Geordie on there?
It's like you're pointing at us both, telling us off. Do you know what I mean? If it's something stupid we did.
Well, that's not new.
Why is David Bellamy in the
David Bellamy. He's not going to know who that is.
I like how Ted's left hand cocked, ready to go. Do you know what I mean?
It's what? Sorry.
Yeah, left hand cocked, when it's.
Oh, sorry, me headset giveaway there.
Is that Ted? I thought that was the Wrexham owner.
Hey, I'll take that as a compliment.
Kind of like how scruffy I look.
And there's Ted at the top. That's definitely Ted.
I can tell by the kite. Do you like it?
I love it. I love it.
Steve does not like it.
Oh, that way.
I mean, the camera adds £10, but I don't know how many cameras that Rye put on Steve on that one. That's ridiculous. You need to slim him down a little bit, Rye. How are you?
No, I just used the same model for all three of us, so there was no. You guys, I tell you, there's not. You do a nice thing, ladies and gentlemen. You do a nice thing. Welcome to North East Football Podcast, the Three's a Crowd. We've got to talk about a lot of football. No football today. FA Cup for those interested. Man City versus Crystal Palace. But there'll be a little known another team at Wembley after an absolute screamer by Dan Ballard midweek. Something that took me by surprise. We had a little bit of a Twitter beef as well. I love it. It was funny and we've also got to talk about Newcastle wrapping up the season. Can they stay where they are to secure Champions League football? It looks like it's nothing but love in the Northeast, but we're all Middlesbrough. Pain. That's all we're going to talk about with when it comes to Middlesbrough. Pain. Let's start it off with what a massive midweek performance it was for Sunderland, going up against a formidable Frank Lampard team. Let's say Frank Lampard had rejuvenated Coventry this season after the sacking of Mark Robbins after 17 years, I think it was. Something crazy that Mark Robbins spent at Coventry. Frank Lampard went in early in the season and rejuvenated Coventry to take them to the playoffs, but they came up against Sunderland in what was incredible turnaround of form, I must say. Sunderland going into the playoffs was absolutely horrific. 5 losses on the trot, coming up against an absolute some horrid football, but to turn around into absolute incredible. Hello, how are you? My daughter's just walked in. And then to come up against Coventry, like you did, Teddy boy. I mean, to take the points away, not only from them, but then to turn around and take it to extra time. I was starting to get a little bit worried for you. Coventry scoring in regulation time to make it 2-2, to then take it into extra time. And then Ted, I'll just let you take it away because no one else wants to really hear about it. I mean, there was some Dan Ballard did something in what should have been after the whistle. I mean, it was kind of boring, wasn't it?
Yeah, dreadful. I mean, let's just rewind it back to the dewy slopes of before that first game, where the mainstream media absolutely wrote us off. I think the BBC pretty much paid for Coventry's hotel by that point. Yep. Everybody thought we had absolutely zero chance of getting through that. I doubted it, to be honest. Like I said, in the last show we did, it's 40 years since we've beaten Coventry City away from home. that's that. The footballing gods pretty much dictate that you're going to be in for a tough one. But listen, it wasn't fantastic football from Sunderland, but what it was tactical masterclass. If you can't beat them playing their game, then let's absolutely dig in. We limited their shots. Everybody's saying that Coventry dominated us. That's not the fact at all. It really isn't. They dominated possession, but that doesn't win games. That absolutely does not win games. It's chances taken. So that first leg was incredibly well managed from Regis Lebris, I thought. It was just tactically brilliant, but also some brave calls made as well in terms of putting Dan Ballard back into the starting 11. What an absolute masterstroke that was, because 20 clearances in a man of the match late in that first leg, and then for him to repeat that and then go and stick the cherry on top of the cake at the end. I've heard distinguished professional players who've played the game, Joby McAnuff, people like that, who've said they've never heard a sound like that on 120 minutes when that's gone in. And people I speak to who were at the game, most of my family were there, and my sisters tell me everybody's in absolute tears. The place just absolutely just started shaking, and that's kind of where we need to get back to being again. And we've got an opportunity, one more game against top opposition. Don't get me wrong, we've got the opportunity to get ourselves back there. And listen, if everything goes to plan, there's I think we're in good, safe hands at the minute in Kirill Louis-Dreyfus. But there's certainly rumours afoot that it's starting to break out to the media that maybe he's looking for somebody to invest a little bit more than what he can in the place as well. So, listen, we've got a game left, and this time next week I'm going to be absolutely a wreck because we're up against a very, very tough side. Phenomenal what we've achieved so far in disposing of Coventry. Feels brilliant, because I've said to Steve, I actually said to him last time we spoke, I can't stand Coventry to the level that I hate Coventry more than I hate Newcastle. And that's honestly how I feel about them. That's honest, seriously. It's just, I think because we've had such a torrid time against them, and especially away from home, it's nearly all of my lifetime that we haven't beaten them away. I'm 46 now, and like the last time I was in primary school, the last time we beat them away from home. So it's a big deal, and it almost took on the feel of a derby. It really did. For all separated by hundreds of miles. But listen, it all comes down to next week, and I don't think we can play the same tactics. I think the way they play might actually suit us a little bit. But having everybody fit and available who we want to be fit and available for this game is just massive. Absolutely massive. The likes of Mundell to go and take them on. Listen, we took 3 points off them this season already. I think we would have took another 3 points off them if we hadn't have had a sending off when we played them at their place. There's no reason why we can't go to Wembley and do it. Interesting fact, the last time we played at Wembley in white, which is this shirt, is what we're going to be playing in next week. The last time we wore the dad of this shirt was actually at Wembley in the 1992 FA Cup final. We got beat that time. We're not going to get beat this time, lads. We're absolutely not. It's a season for putting some wrongs right. So every faith in the lads. Absolutely buzzing.
It really is incredible for Regis. I mean, in his first season, Stevie boy, he's taken Sunderland, which from last season were they were the laughing stock under Michael Beale. I mean, they had a changing of managers. Mogga, our best friend, got sacked early in the season. I mean, they were an absolute shambles come the end of last season. Regis, the unknown, has come in and taken them to Wembley in his first season in charge in the Championship. Is it a sign of what good work he's done? Was it an undermanned Championship? Was it? I mean, for me, I'm not sure if you saw the goal, but for those Newcastle fans that probably weren't tuning in, like many of you probably wouldn't be, Dan Ballard, a header in the 121st minute of extra time, sending him to Wembley in his first season. I mean, is it manager of the season?
I wouldn't say manager of the season. I would just say, we've given him plenty praise on this show, all three of us, because of the way that he's gone about his job. You know, he's found a way to win, found a way to get a point out of a defeat, and ultimately, you know, he was a complete unknown when he came to the club. I remember Ted's reaction when he arrived, and you know, he was a bit more, I would say, level-headed than some Sunderland fans who were, you know, wanting the owner strung up outside the Stadium of Light. But you know what? He's come in and he's got the job, you know, almost done. People have been questioning his team selection, of course, over the last 6 or 7 weeks.
Yeah.
Been on a horrendous run going into the playoffs. We did say on here that maybe it's a gamble. Maybe he is playing Watson, for example, because he doesn't want to injure some of his best players. Maybe he was, you know, conscious of the fact that his playoff rivals would be sending people to come and watch them, and he didn't want to give anything away once they'd secured that playoff spot. On the flip side of that, you've got to keep morale up, and you've got to keep people's, you know, motivated at the club. And, you know, going into a playoff doubleheader against Coventry, who were the form team, you know, it was a hell of a gamble. But I watched both games. I watched both legs. I agree with Big Nige in the chat, who said that, you know, I think it was him who said it about the, no, it wasn't Nige. It was somebody else who said, it was Gary, I think it was maybe, who said Sunderland played better away. There it is, Gary V. I watched both Sunderland games and thought they looked better away. I'd agree with you, Gary. I genuinely do think Sunderland looked better away from home. They look more composed. However, I think a lot of people online ridiculed the flag wave off from the training ground for that game, but you couldn't argue with the atmosphere for the home game. The home game was superb. And I mean, you know, it was, you know, everything from the tifo, which was hanging from the stand,
was incredible, that,
to the, you know, the bus pulling in and the flares going off and all of that. I mean, look, Sunderland got it right on the day. And the team had to react to that, and the team did react to it. And they left it late. I'll probably go, because I'm in the centre halves union, I'd say Ballard was man of the match, deservedly so. Yeah. But I'd praise and say that his defensive performance was probably more important than the goal he scored, because Coventry could have had a hatful. And if it hadn't been for Ballard, Sunderland would have lost that game. The goal was a fitting end for Ballard's great performance. And for me personally, I couldn't give him high enough praise. Sunderland deserved it. They're at Wembley. They play Sheffield United against a team that's managed by somebody that none of us particularly like, Chris Wilder. I'd like Sunderland to win, because I want to see Sunderland back in the Premier League. And a lot of people who don't know Steve Wraith go, "Oh, I can't believe he's saying that." But yeah, I've said it. I said it when we did the radio show.
A lot of Newcastle fans have said it. I'm quite surprised, but really encouraged by that.
I want to see Sunderland in the Premier League. I want to play Sunderland, you know, and of course, it's a backhanded compliment, because we feel we could probably beat Sunderland home and away next season and get 6 points. But it's the derby. It's the derby, and you want the derby back. And if we only have it back for a season or a couple of seasons, at least we'll have had it. And you know, Newcastle fans who say they don't want to see Sunderland back, I let them have their opinion. They're entitled to it, just as much as Sunderland fans who'd say they want to see Newcastle in the same league as Gateshead. That's what rivalry's all about. But my opinion is, I want to see Newcastle, Sunderland in the same division. I want to see Borough there. I want to see Borough up there as well. It's you know, a couple of games where, you know, you're playing your local teams, and it's not far to travel for everybody. Football fans get, you know, pulled from pillar to post and have to go hundreds of miles, you know, thousands of miles through a season, but hundreds of miles for away games to places, you know, on the south coast. Let's make it difficult for the other teams now and get them dragged up here every other week. And, you know, that's what we want. But yeah, well done to Sunderland. Lebris has done a really good job. He's got to finish it off, though. It counts for nothing if they get to Wembley and they get beat.
Well, let's talk about that. Obviously, it's a formidable opponent in Sheffield United, who absolutely blew Bristol City away. Bristol City's being touted as the worst playoff team to enter the playoffs in a long time. such was Sheffield United's performance that everyone thinks it's a shoe-in come Wembley, obviously, for Chris Wilder and his men. Coming down from the Premier League, they've got the parachute payments. They've got a formidable squad, Teddy boy. They've got a Kiefer Moore, a striker that you were quite fond of at one point, and obviously a strong midfield. How do you see your chances against Sheffield United come in Wembley?
I have no doubt in my mind that Regis Lebris has been preparing for this all along. We talked about it. It's that risk that he took by resting players on the lead up to the playoff semi-finals. Apparently, I mean, when the formation was announced that we were away at Coventry and we're going 4-4-2, it raised eyebrows massively. And apparently, they've been working on this in training for weeks. They've barely been working on the league games on the run up to it. That it's just been a separate thing altogether. It's kind of right. Go out, go through the motions. The whole idea has been to look at these playoffs, and that's what they've been planning for. I've got no doubt in my mind at all that Sheffield United are a very good side. Kiefer Moore, obviously, you've got Tom Cannon there as well, who's a decent striker in his own right. Somebody who was very close to signing for Sunderland at one stage as well. But right now, would I swap them for Elysia Mayenda and Wilson Isidore? Nah, not at all. I think Mayenda is somebody whose confidence is right up at this moment in time. He's finishing well. He's leading the line well for a lad. He's just turned 20-year-old, and he's leading the line and taking immense responsibility on. He's playing very, very well. He's a bigger problem to them than what Kiefer Moore is for us. Right now, I trust our defence. All right, there was the goal they conceded. A little bit unfortunate, but to be honest, that Sakamoto is better than any Coventry City player that I've seen in recent years. That Sakamoto will not be at Coventry City next season. He's a tremendous talent.
He was a good player,
be honest, if we get promoted, there's your replacement for Patrick. Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. But listen,
good player.
I get it. United have got a good side. The right back whose name escapes me now, who they got from Leeds United at the end of last season. It's full of players who can play Premier League football, but at the same time they got relegated for a reason. So there's while it's not in any sort of doubt that they are of decent quality, so are we, and it's going to be a lot more evenly matched, I think, than what the mainstream press would suggest anyway. I think they can do it. It's kind of going to take a huge effort once again. I don't think, like I said before, I don't think we'll play the same way as what we did against Coventry. I think this will be the Sunderland that we saw at the first half of the season. That'll be a bit more high pressing. The thing is, which is brilliant, and what Regis Lebris has done now, he's put doubt in everyone's mind of how's he going to line them up, how's he been preparing them. And I think he'll keep Chris Wilder guessing all the way at the end. The biggest thing for me is we're going to have a game where Mundell starts with Lafay as well. And that for me is a major, major attacking threat. While we've got a defence and somebody in Dan Ballard who, for me, I love the way Dan Ballard speaks. He's so level-headed. For me, he's a borderline captain for me. The stature of the lad, the way obviously the other players seem to look up to the guy, even though he's a young man himself. Superb. We've got nothing to fear at the back. Patterson, I think, has been getting better as the latter end of the season has been going on. His distribution is miles better than what it was. Things are starting to click into place. Is it at the right time? Is it enough? Yeah, we'll find out on Saturday, won't we?
Stevie boy, obviously you were a formidable opponent for Sheffield United when they were in the Premier League last season, absolutely blowing them away at home and away. Look, they're a team much like the top end of the championship that seem to be bouncing in and out of the Premier League. We talk about the gap, the financial situation. We've seen the three teams that came up this season go straight back down. We've talked about teams like Sheffield United, Leeds United, Burnley, who are coming back up at the first time of trying. I mean, is it all written in the stars that Sheffield United will just blow Sunderland away and come back up for a formidable, torrid season in the Premier League?
It's not written in the stars because it's a one-off game. I think that's what Nigel just said in the chat. But it is a one-off game. Anybody can win at Wembley. We've seen it with Newcastle this season. Everyone had it as a formality that Liverpool would win that cup, and Newcastle won it. 73, Sunderland did it. Borough's done it. We've all been there, done it, and got the T-shirt as far as winning one-off games at Wembley's concerned. So, yeah, anybody can do it. It's a huge game, and it's about playing the game and not the occasion. And I think that's the key. Sheffield United could face heartbreak. How many times does the team that doesn't finish in that illustrious third place miss out? And, statistically, I think that's the key. So, yeah,
we did it against Charlton.
This does feel different. It does feel a bit different. It does feel as if Sunderland have got the momentum now after that double header against Coventry, and it does feel as if perhaps this is the season at the North East where both teams go to Wembley and win. We've had so many seasons where both teams have gone to Wembley and not won. So maybe this is the season that it comes good for both teams.
Do you want to just take 30 seconds to explain what Wembley is to the Borough fans, mate?
We're losing Ted. Unfortunately, the connection's dropping out. Such is his massive head. Good question that came in the chat from Stapleton, who asked, why does everyone dislike Chris Wilder? Just a general question. Well, it's a good question, and it is something we joke about a lot in this show. For me, as a Borough fan, we did have Chris Wilder as our manager, and while he was managing at Middlesbrough, he was touted with the Burnley job. And in fact, he actually went and put his name up for it and interviewed for it while he was managing our club. It led to massive reports, him saying that I'm a manager just like a player. Why wouldn't I chase a bigger opportunity? Well, at that stage, Burnley were in the same league as us, and we were absolutely irate with him, and we've never liked him since. Teddy boy, your passion for Chris Wilder, your opponent at Wembley in nigh under a week, mate. Your thoughts on Chris Wilder?
He's rude and arrogant, and he's just got no kind of how can I put it? Just no sense of like decorum. I've seen other Sheffield United managers, the likes of Warnock, where Warnock's a character and he winds people up, but there's a decent guy behind it all, and even the way Frank Lampard sort of conducted himself after the game. He showed some decency there, I thought, at least. Whereas, I just don't like him. He's arrogant and rude. That's the main thing for me. And unnecessarily, there's nothing to back it up. For me, he's achieved a promotion. He also took them down again. He went behind the existing manager's back to get his old job back. And I just think he's an arrogant, rude snake. There you go.
There you go. Stevie, obviously you've experienced much of Chris Wilder in the Premier League. In fact, I believe he once ate a referee was once eating a sandwich in his presence, which was absolutely disgusting. Your thoughts on Chris Wilder?
I just think the way that he goes on is a step too far. I just think he doesn't show the same kind of level of respect and decorum that certain managers do. Newcastle's Eddie Howe is a prime example of how you should behave as a manager. Win, lose, or draw. Show some respect to your opponent. Show respect to to your team and for yourself. In particular. And Wilder's he's a flashback to probably those managers from back in the 80s, and he's a dinosaur. It's as simple as that. And I just think you can't go on like that anymore. And he needs to be checked. He needs to be maybe spoken to a little bit more severely than some other managers. But that's the reason I don't like him.
There you go. There you go. Great question in the chat.
Can you give us 2 seconds? I promise I'll be back. It's just Mrs. Ted is trying to put the TV on, and somehow she's managed to connect my Bluetooth headphones to the TV.
Yeah,
all right.
Good job. It's not a live show. We can actually edit this bit out, can't we? Yeah, we'll do that. Brilliant. 2 seconds, lads.
Let's change the gears anyway. Let's talk about Newcastle United, Stevie. We've got a couple of massive last games of the season to secure Champions League football once again for Newcastle United. What a massive ending to a fantastic season where you've already won a cup in how many years of waiting, mate? I mean, would this just be the cherry on top? You have got two massive games, Arsenal and Everton. Arsenal away, and then Everton to finish at St. James Park, mate. How do you see Newcastle's season ending up? Those two games, I mean, Arsenal obviously a tricky one. Everton under David Moyes seem a little bit rejuvenated, but Newcastle looking to get maximum points, mate, where they can finish third in the Premier League, which is, again, a massive achievement and another feather in Eddie Howe's illustrious cap.
I mean, we could finish second, first and foremost, right? Newcastle United play Arsenal tomorrow at Arsenal. It's the shootout for second place. Newcastle win tomorrow, then they go a point above Arsenal with a game to play. Newcastle's record against Arsenal is exemplary. They've played them 3 times. They've beaten them 3 times. Beat them 1-0 at home, beat them 2-0 at home in the Carabao Cup, and beat them 2-0 away in the Carabao Cup. So we've got a bit of a hex over Arsenal at the moment. They are obviously missing centre forward. They've never had a centre forward, since maybe 3 or 4 months ago. They've now lost Marino to suspension, which is a massive bonus for Newcastle because he's been their makeshift centre forward. Declan Rice has been back in training this week, but to be fair, Declan Rice hasn't done a great deal against Newcastle when he's played. What will maybe set Newcastle back slightly is just availability of players. Sven Botman, went off a game with a knock last week. Nothing severe, but could keep him out of the game. Kieran Trippier is not going to be available. It looks like we are literally down to the bare bones with our back four, and means that probably Kraft will have to start. Jamal Lascelles, I can't see him starting. He's only played, 10 minutes coming on as a sub and then played behind a closed doors game this week. But clearly, he'll be available on the bench, Eddie said yesterday. So it's the back four that's a concern. However, with Arsenal not having centre forwards, I'm not too concerned about that. What we need really is just to look after our own results. We win these 2 games. We finish second in the Premier League. We're in the Champions League. We draw tomorrow and we win against Everton. We're in the Champions League. We finish third. So it's in our hands. That's where we're at. Yes, the table is tight. Arsenal on 68 points. Newcastle on 66, Chelsea on 66, and Villa on 66. Man City with a game in hand because they play the cup final today on 65, and Nottingham Forest just outside those Champions League places on 62 points. It's so tight.
It really is, isn't it?
It's a real shootout.
2 games to go, and you could literally end up in 7th, if the results were to go against you. But as you said, you can also finish in 2nd. I mean, is it the tightest end to a Premier League you've seen?
For me, yeah, other than, league titles being decided on the last day of the season, there was actually football before the Premier League. I remember that infamous Liverpool-Arsenal ITV shootout where Arsenal went through and scored.
Michael Thomas
in the dying minute of the game. And that was phenomenal, Kenny Dalglish scoring for Liverpool against Chelsea, again, another goal that, lifted the title at the back end of the season. Steve Bruce, I think, as well, scoring for Manchester United, in a title-winning game. So these things do happen. Who could forget Aguero and that wonderful bit of commentary from Martin Tyler. So that, there's been some wonderful ends to the season.
Yeah, not wrong.
And even in the Championship, it happens. Newcastle, second place behind Brighton in the Championship under Rafa Benitez. Brighton losing on the last game of the season and Newcastle winning in the dying embers of the game to win the Championship title. So it does happen. But yeah, as far as a Champions League finish, we've been here before. Newcastle's been in this kind of position before where they had to win on the last game of the season to get Champions League. And I've got no doubt we'll do it. I think the prediction about Villa being the team to watch has been correct. Chelsea's been the surprise package for me. Didn't expect Chelsea to get Champions League.
Agreed.
Put a good run together at a late stage, which tied in with Forest losing their way a little bit. And we've ended up in this position where Forest now literally have to win 2 games and have to hope somebody slips up. I expect Man City to be there. I expect Villa to be there. I reckon the top 6 will be as it is. I think that'll be all. I think Newcastle will. I do think Newcastle will get the points that are needed. It's a big ask to go to Arsenal and win again, but why can't they? Why can't they do that? Why can't they do that?
Yeah, Arsenal's form in the last 5, Teddy boy, not the best. I mean, they've drawn 3, won 1, lost 1. Nottingham Forest, I think, are all at sea. I mean, their biggest concern is keeping their owner off the pitch for the next couple of games, and then you've got the rest of the teams in and around it. I mean, Newcastle with Arsenal away, Everton to go, they are sitting 3rd in the Premier League. Teddy boy, it's a very, very tight finish, much like we saw in the Championship, where the last day could decide it. Newcastle already won the silverware this season, mate. They could finish 2nd. I mean, Eddie Howe, feather in his cap, an illustrious cap that it is, could see Newcastle United 2nd in the Premier League.
Well, yeah, I mean, much like myself, it's a very tight back end, isn't it?
Yep.
Excuse me.
We saw the photos. We
didn't. I was young. I needed the money. Listen. not so tight at the front end. No, listen. I think it's been a phenomenal season for Newcastle as it is. If the final whistle was blown now on everything, I think that's a massive success. I just can't see how they're not going to finish 2nd though. Because in terms of the form, I think Arsenal are off the boil. Losing Mourinho, like you say, is a big loss for them. And you're right, for all the great season I think Declan Rice has had, he just doesn't seem to turn on against Newcastle. So you'd be hoping it's no more Mr. Rice guy. Sorry, that's
no.
I'm ashamed of that.
Cut him.
I'm actually ashamed. I'm sorry.
Play the cat.
No,
play the cat.
Speaking of which, that's coming up. I noticed the neat little segue. Yeah, okay. Make it subtle, Ryan. Nobody will know. No, listen, a phenomenal end of the season. I want them to get Champions League football, because if we do get promoted, we are going to need them as tired as possible if we are going to try and get any result out of them. So, you go for your lives. You get Champions League football and get 2nd, mate. That's exactly what we want you to do. No, I just see a strong end of the season for them. They've been mightily impressive. Yes, it sticks in my throat. People think I'm some sort of closet mag. I'm not. I want to see them get beat every single game, but it doesn't happen. And you've got to be logical about this and say they're a very, very good side, and they've been a good side all season.
I completely agree.
I absolutely think they will finish 2nd this season, and it wouldn't be ill-deserved in any way at all.
Well, we've got a lot more to come and talk about on the Threes A Crowd podcast, but it is time now to sit back, relax, and have a bit of a laugh, because it's time for...
As this probably will be our last show for a week or two, we've got some absolute belters this week. We will have to come back, I think, and do like an end of season show. But
we will.
I'm having some time off, so it won't be next week or the week after. But we'll liaise and get something sorted. But here we go. We've got a backlog of tweets. This one, Mikel Arteta and Unai Emery are the new spokesman for Viagra after it appears they can only get a semi. And 2 things that are useless in Europe: Arsenal. Yeah.
The plug is more use in Europe because we use 3-pin in Cyprus. So there you go.
There you go. League titles in the last 20. League titles in the last 20 years.
Oh my God.
And we've been the best team in the world for 2 years now.
Yeah.
Worst manager in Man United's history: 2 trophies in 2 full seasons. And Pep. No trophies in 5 full seasons.
Okay, good point. Far out.
Yeah.
Pep Mark 2, yeah. Dumb and Dumber, a new film coming out.
Hey. Ange, come on, the Aussie.
And Newcastle fans obviously talking a lot about the club crest. This is happening at Manchester United at the moment. And Arsenal have dug up the pitch at the Emirates to plant potatoes, so that way they'll have something to lift at the end of May. And in German football, it is over. It's done. And he didn't miss an opportunity to ask where he could buy a trophy.
Fair play to the lad.
Here we see Derulo imitating Mbappe at a recent award ceremony.
Oh my God.
And we've all had this feeling, lads, when you finally stop at the services on an away day.
Amen.
And this was a great one. Wouldn't it be great if the club put out a scarf on every home seat in the Stadium of Light for our home game? It would put out a great message that our support means something. FTM. Someone replied at the bottom, pining for a free scarf in May, David. It's 22 degrees at the weekend, man. Oh, it's brilliant. PSG get flag of the year as well. Arsenal bottle job since 06. Saka more like Timu Anthony. And here's the Kardashians holding white balls for the first time, lads.
Way. Okay.
And say what you like about the Beatles, lads. They knew how to defend a free kick. And this went viral. Leaving your boyhood club that's on the up for a satanic plastic institution over in Spain just to be with your alleged boyfriend Bellingham. Just come out of the closet, mate. You won't be welcome back here to watch games. You'll never be welcome back in the city, Judas Rat. Newcastle supporters worldwide said, look like the Scousers are unhappy he's left. That's about Trent Alexander-Arnold.
A bit strong.
Not everybody likes getting substituted. And we are coming into Sandcastle weather, lads. Here's a belter, the San Siro.
Oh, very good.
Well done. Well done.
Very good.
Julius sent this one in. When I was a young lad, I remember the joke being 3 North East teams have one thing in common. Newcastle have got Woodgate, Middlesbrough Southgate, and Sunderland Relegate. I love this one on Football Away Days. Absolutely class what this dad did for his son on the day he was born. 18 years ago, I bought the current, at the time, Coventry shirt in adult size and I put it in a padlocked box. The box has been hidden and untouched since it was locked in 2006. 18 years ago today, my first son came into this world and he's had no idea that the now retro shirt from the day he was born has been waiting for him all this time. Quality that. Isn't that lovely getting a Coventry shirt 18 years after you've been born?
Have you seen the comment below that?
Oh, I did, yeah.
Yeah. Well, come on, we'll reveal it. I added a comment to that post saying, I'd rather have been adopted.
Yeah. It's a classic, absolute classic. This was great.
You see what I put on there.
I love this.
You've got to ruin. Yeah, this was brilliant as well. Sunderland moved the advertising ordinance closer to the pitch to stop Coventry's long throws this evening is unreal shithousery, and it was.
It worked.
We had a lot of action, of course, in Rome with a new pope. Rangers are close to a new manager. And congratulations to the new pope as well. Big football fan. I didn't realise when you've got massive 12 and Millwall away at 3. Jamie, thanks for this one. Is this the way to Lithuania? Bayern Munich, I'm off to Albania. Thursday night in Transylvania. Conference League awaits for me. That's from a Nottingham Forest fan. Thanks to Ted for this one as well from Rainy.
I can't believe this.
Amazing that somebody would actually do that. And the winner this week is this one. The Metropolitan Police have asked Sunderland fans not to take flares into Wembley Stadium, even though that's what they wore the last time they won there in a major competition. That's it for the Cats for this week.
Oh, that was very, very good.
Wonderful.
The Northeast Footy Show podcast. We've been talking about Newcastle's attempts at landing Champions League football, Sunderland at Wembley, and we have spoken about the other club, the third club of the Northeast, Middlesbrough. It is time to discuss so little about what's happened to the Mighty Reds towards the end of the season. Obviously, faulting at the last day against Coventry led to nothing for Middlesbrough. In fact, finishing 11th for Michael Carrick's Reds. The past couple of weeks have been quite quiet coming out of Middlesbrough. Nothing but rumours about Michael Carrick's future. Obviously, the fans on the forums, lads, have been absolutely irate that Michael Carrick hasn't been sacked. A lot of people calling for his head and should have been rolled the day after the season. I think there's been a bit of calmness in the way the club's doing it. They're obviously investigating and looking at the way the season ended, the way we missed out on the goals, the way the recruitment went in January. There's a bit of talk about that, but obviously that takes time, and the club have also sent the players away on their deserved break as well. Not some of them, but some of them did deserve a break, that's for sure. The rumours are floating around now for Hayden Hackney. Obviously, player of the season for Middlesbrough, also got into the championship team of the season as well, linked with Porto in what is a rumoured £25 million move, which is incredible for Hayden Hackney. But we at Borough think it should be worth more. Lads, let's just quickly cover off on Michael Carrick. We did see a question in the chat as well that I will ask the lads as well. Michael Carrick, I believe, will be at Middlesbrough at the start of next season. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he signed a new long-term deal in the summer of last, which means Gibbo wouldn't be willing to pay that up. Plus, I think Gibbo wants to give him the time to turn it around. We know how trustworthy Gibbo is with giving managers as much time as he can. The one thing I need to see, though, is from a recruitment standpoint and Michael Carrick's standpoint. Now, I can reveal that on the Three's a Crowd that the recruitment and Michael Carrick were at very, very far ends of the earth come January. There was a Michael Carrick that wanted to sign Kelechi Iheanacho for his experience, and there was a recruitment team at Borough that didn't want to touch him. Well, Michael Carrick got his way because he is the manager, and the recruitment did not. Now, what does that mean? Well, Michael Carrick and the head of recruitment or the head of football in Kieran Scott need to sit down and work out the differences in this summer if Middlesbrough are to make any progress into next season. A lot to iron out in Middlesbrough, a lot of talk about Michael Carrick in his future. Teddy boy, we'll start with you because you're the envy of every Borough fan at the moment. We thought starting off at the start of the season that we would be the one at Wembley, if not higher than that. We are not. You are. As much as it sticks in my throat, I believe Sunderland have got the model correct in going for the youth as well. Middlesbrough have got Johnny Howson, who turns 37 next week, and he's obviously looking at getting another contract for next season. Michael Carrick, mate. Is he a manager that you think Middlesbrough will have again next season, or would you see him being replaced?
It's all going to depend. And, we saw Tony Mowbray leave Sunderland for a similar sort of outcome as this, whereas Tony Mowbray wanted more say on the transfers coming in terms of the actual players, not just like the type of player we needed. That he essentially didn't agree with the model, as did a lot of Sunderland fans, including myself. And Michael Carrick's almost got to make the decision himself. Is that what he wants to work under? Does he trust that that management team that's put in place for recruitment, the likes of Kieran Scott, who previously have actually got it very, very right as far as Middlesbrough is concerned? So does Michael Carrick kind of realise that, yeah, okay, that's not my part of the job? It used to be, don't get me wrong, all three of us here grew up in a time where football clubs were managed by the manager.
Yeah.
Even down to wages and things like that. That was all under the manager's remit of what people got paid. But we don't live in them times anymore, unfortunately. And Carrick's got that decision to make. And I when it's gone that far, where he's gone that far against what the recruitment team wanted to do, and it's backfired on him, I can't see Carrick being there next season. I really don't. I think it'll be somebody else coming in. I think it'll be somebody else who wants to get back in at a good standard of Championship football, a team who could look at promotion. I don't think it would take that much of a push to get Middlesbrough to where we've ended up this season. I really don't think that at all. It's just a little bit of tinkering with the recruitment that needs to be done. And spend that money wisely. If the likes of the Latte sale, obviously none of that money's been spent, so to speak. And with maybe the likes of Hayden Hackney going, then that's got to be reinvested as well. Somebody like a Sean Dyche, possibly. I think Sean Dyche would maybe fancy that. I can't see a Premier League side that's probably going to go for Sean Dyche at this moment in time. So somebody like him, I can see coming in. I just can't see it being Carrick, mate. I think there's a good manager there, but I think this is all part of his learning curve as a young manager. That, without wanting to sound too mean to him, you've just got to learn your place in these things.
Steve, obviously Middlesbrough, from a fan's point of view, are the laughing stock of the Northeast. Obviously Newcastle winning a cup, Sunderland making it to Wembley, mate. Out of the three Northeast teams this season, Middlesbrough have been the worst. And it's something that hasn't sat well with Middlesbrough fans, obviously shifting all the blame to Michael Carrick. The season is now done for Middlesbrough. Michael Carrick did sign a new 4-year deal of last summer, or even a year into that. 3 seasons now Michael Carrick has had at Middlesbrough, obviously taking us to playoffs in his very first, and then finishing 8th, and then finishing 11th. So he is going a little bit backwards, but obviously keeping us safe in the championship. Is it time for Michael Carrick to step aside?
I mean, we said a couple of weeks ago, probably was, it's one of those things. It just seems as if it's gone stale. It really does. And that's the problem. The Borough face, do they continue with a manager who, when the push comes to shove at the end of the season, didn't seem to be able to get the best out of the players? We've got to be fair to him in a sense. He lost players. He lost players in the transfer window. Last summer was a big blow, losing key players. And have they replaced them adequately? That's not Carrick's fault. That's the owner's fault, and the person that he puts in charge of recruitment. So it's a tough one, isn't it? And the only man who can make the decision is Steve Gibson. He knows what he wants at his football club. Michael Carrick comes across as a really nice guy, very professional, and I think given the tools, he can do the job. I guess the big question this summer for Borough fans is, are they going to give him the money and the backing to try and get into the Premier League next season? That division is getting harder and harder to get out of and easier to get into. And that's a major problem at the moment, the championship for Borough, because Borough are stuck in the middle of it, and it's not a positive season for them. And I tipped Sunderland and Middlesbrough both to get to the playoffs this season. Middlesbrough missed out by a fine margin, but that fine margin, just means you've got another season in the championship. So it's a big summer. It's a big decision to make, and it'll be interesting to see what Steve Gibson does. I have a feeling though that if the trigger was going to be pulled, it would have been done by now. I guess that Carrick's going to be there for another year.
Yeah, I have the same feeling, to be honest with you, Steve. I think it's going to be a big summer still. I think there's going to be a bit of talk around the backroom staff. Obviously, player recruitment and players leaving will be a big key. The biggest one as well, obviously, was losing Latte Lath, Morgan Rogers in January. I mean, that needs to stop. And where, as I said right off the bat as well, the head of football in Kieran Scott and his recruitment plans need to be abided by Michael Carrick. That's the reason that Ted, said it as well. Michael Carrick is the head coach. He's not the manager. The reason that football clubs employ heads of football now is so that managers can come and go, but the squad fluidity kind of stays the same, and that there's someone directing the way the squad wants to look, and then you just want to get a coach that can get the best out of the lads on the pitch. Well, Michael Carrick hasn't done that this season. He didn't do it last season either. Now, injuries could be a buy of that. Well, is that down to Michael Carrick and his training methods as well? Something that all needs to be looked at and dissected. One thing we all know as Middlesbrough fans is that a couple of games in, if Michael Carrick hasn't hit the ground running, then the heads will be absolutely lost at Middlesbrough. The fans reeling already, wanting some change. And if there is to be no change in the helm this off-season, then I tell you what, he's going to want to hit the ground running at start of next, especially with the way Middlesbrough wanted to be this season. Lads, it's been obviously a massive, massive season for all three Northeast teams. A lot of change, a lot of craziness up and down the Northeast, but none obviously none bigger than Sunderland taking on Sheffield United at Wembley. Obviously, next Saturday at what will be an incredible game. They call it the richest game in football. You then have Newcastle pushing for Champions League, and you have Middlesbrough just sitting there doing night. It's been absolutely incredible season for both Sunderland and Newcastle, and Middlesbrough will be licking their lips to try and do something next season. Michael Carrick, will he stay? Will he go? Let us know in the comments as well. We want to thank you all, 300 of you almost, to tuning in and watching as well. Love it. We appreciate you. And it's been a fantastic season for Three's a Crowd podcast. So thank you for being here. In fact, let's get to some of your questions, because there's been absolutely fantastic questions coming through. One that we had earlier in the piece, lads, was there's 3 to 4, possibly 5 clubs that are too good for the championship, but not good enough for the Premier League. How are clubs like that going to close the gap and manage to avoid relegation? Well, we know 2 of the 3 teams are coming up. Steve, we'll come to you, mate, in the Premier League. We know Leeds and Burnley are coming up under Scott Parker and Daniel Farker. Got to be careful how I mention that one. Coming up, and obviously between Sheffield United and Sunderland. Obviously, Sunderland is the unknown. They haven't been in the Premier League for a long time, but Sheffield United obviously coming straight back down. How do you see the best way that the Premier League and the Championship can close that gap so teams coming up have a chance? We've seen the 3 teams go straight back down. Ipswich under Kieran McKenna, fantastic coach, I thought. Southampton were absolutely abysmal. They came up with Russ Martin and changed their manager, and now they're going back down. And it just seems like the gap is a step too big for teams that are dominating the Championship. In what we've seen, Leeds and Burnley will likely struggle in the Premier League.
Yeah, I mean, it's always difficult for teams coming up. The gap has grown like bigger each season. I think a lot has been made of the fact that the last couple of seasons, the 3 that have come up have gone straight back down. Leeds and I think whoever comes up between Sunderland and Sheffield United, Sheffield United have had the experience recently. Burnley, of course, they're all teams that have been yo-yo clubs. You've got to learn something from each experience that you go up and come down. It's again down to money, and it's down to investment, and being able to compete by keeping to the rules, the PSR rules. Nottingham Forest were the last team that came up and made a success of it, and they went out and blew a huge budget, signed 15 to 16 players, and everyone was looking at it going, what on earth are they doing? But it's proved to be the right thing to do. And now look at them at the right end of the table, challenging for Champions League with 2 games to go, and just missing out on an FA Cup final. So people could say that was the way to do it, and maybe that's what Burnley, Leeds, and whoever comes up in the playoff game has to do. But there's no magic recipe. It's simply money, money, and investing that money properly. Incidentally, I've met his mother, Mother Farker.
Oh my God.
I feel better about my crap joke now.
Yours was the best joke of the pod now. Thank you for that, Steve. Teddy boy, it's right to talk about money. And if you do find yourself in the Championship next season, mate, there are 2 clubs coming up from League One that are full of money. I mean, we've got Wrexham under the ownership of Ryan Reynolds and Rob Bacaluri, which obviously are just pouring money into this club. They've had it back-to-back promotions now under the American ownership. Birmingham coming up as well. They've got American owners as well who are splashing the cash. I mean, this week just alone, Wrexham have just been reported to be wanting to sign Tom Carney from Fulham for £50,000 a week in the Championship. I mean, we are talking about ludicrous money for teams coming up into the Championship. We see money getting splashed around. I mean, League One's getting blown away by Birmingham and Wrexham for the teams. They're going to be in the Championship next season. Then you're going to have the 3 teams coming back down from the Premier League with their parachute payments in Ipswich, Southampton. I mean, the money for those 5 clubs seems to be unrealistic for teams like Middlesbrough to match even Sunderland if you weren't to make the promotion. I mean, you've got talks of Bellingham being sold. Obviously, Chris Riggs got a target. I mean, Dan Ballard's done himself some good favours as well. How do we, if you do find yourself in the Championship, match it with the likes of Wrexham, the 3 parachute teams, and Birmingham next season?
We change nothing. We change absolutely nothing of what we're doing right now. We're living within our means. We are getting, playing attractive football most of the time, and we're attracting, Premier League interest in terms of managers are looking at our team and going, I want to send our young'uns there. That's where I want them. I want our young players to play in front of 46,000 people, get big match experience, and play attractive football in with a group of young lads and learn to be a proper professional footballer. And I think that's fine for us where we are right now. I think even agents of younger players would prefer to send them to Sunderland than. I've got nothing against Wrexham. I know a lot of people on social media are sort of, they see them as this new money club and they give them a hard time. Wrexham has been through the mill, man, as a town and as a football club. So, you know what? I'm not going to begrudge them a bit of success. The other thing you've got to bear in mind, though, it's all right having, non-league money, League Two money, League One money, Championship money is a totally different ball game. They're going to be linked with £50,000 a week players, of course they are, but they ain't got that much money. You forget that Phil Parkinson absolutely, he trashed it as a Championship manager. He just couldn't do it. So it's a big step up in standard to what they're used to. I just want to return to something else that you mentioned as well just before about how you kind of combat this whole thing of the yo-yo clubs in coming down from the Premier League and all that sort of thing. For me, increase the size of the Premier League to 24 teams, and then after that, make it 1 up, 1 down at the end of the season. So you've got an outright champion that goes up and the worst team in the division that goes down. That way, you give those teams in and around the bottom half, you give them more experience. All right, if they get away with it by the skin of the teeth and survive by a point, they survive by a point and they go again. And, that way, because you're getting an outright winner in the Championship as well, it's a more deserving team of going up. I know that sounds like double standards because my team are in the playoffs, but in my head, that's how it would work a lot better. So it's increased the size of the Premier League. Sky would love that. Imagine how many more games they'll be able to show without taking any fans into consideration.
Steve, would you take that, mate? Would you take 1 up, 1 down from the Premier League to help close the gap? I mean, Man United and Tottenham would have loved that.
It's a good suggestion. I don't think the Premier League would ever do that. I don't think powers that be would do that. They're more interested about making money than anything else. They're not bothered about individual teams, and the playoff game is a huge earner for everybody involved. And it all comes down. It all comes down to TV. And as Danny says in the chat, 24 teams would be too many games for the European teams. So yeah, it comes down to a lot of different factors. But yeah, it would be interesting. But is there a solution to it? I'm not sure.
Well, just before we wrap things up here on the Threeser Crowd, we've talked about, obviously, Sunderland with their massive Wembley trip. If we don't get a podcast out, we're going to need some predictions, lads. Let's quickly get into it. Sheffield United versus Sunderland at Wembley. Winner goes to the Premier League. The loser is in the Championship again next season. Steve, Sheffield United or Sunderland for you out of Wembley?
Sunderland to win 2-1 after extra time.
Extra time winner there. Teddy boy, obviously Sunderland coming up against Sheffield United, mate. Your scoreline for what will be one of the biggest games of your life?
I'm going to go for a familiar Wembley scoreline to Sunderland fans. I'm going to go 1-0 to Sunderland.
Wow. There you go. I'm actually going to go for 1-1, and I think Sheffield United might do it in the penalties. I think it's going to be an interesting watch for me. Let's quickly talk about
God,
Newcastle.
all three of us didn't go for a win.
Newcastle obviously are taking on Arsenal, obviously, in a must-win game for Newcastle to try and get close to try and get into that second spot. Teddy boy, do you see Newcastle getting the win against Arsenal to take that second spot?
I do, and I think it's going to be a little bit more convincing than what people think. I'm going to go for 2-0 to the Geordies.
Ooh, I think it's going to be a 0-0 draw, and it'll come down to Everton for me. Stevie, Newcastle v Arsenal?
Yeah, I've gone 2-0 as well to Newcastle. I think they'll win 2-0. I think they'll win. I think they'll win against Arsenal and go above Arsenal. I think it'll go down to the last game for who finishes second. I think Newcastle's game, which they'll struggle in, could be Everton at home. Pickford lies in wait, and I'm sure Pickford will be licking his lips at the opportunity of trying to have a game of his life to put Newcastle's bait up, so to speak.
I mean, he was watching Sunderland, wasn't he, in the playoffs?
4 points out of the next 2 games, though. I predict Newcastle will probably finish. I think they'll get 4 points out of the next 2 games. I think they'll finish third.
third. And Teddy boy, where's Newcastle going to finish, mate?
I'm going to stick to what I said before. I'd be a lie if I didn't. So I'm going to say they're going to finish second.
Wow.
We haven't done the Borough game prediction. Oh,
I'm also going to say third. And Sunderland. Actually, I'm changing my tip to Sheffield United winning 6-0.
This is Middlesbrough fans. This is where their season went.
And that's the last time you see me on Three It's a Crowd. Thanks for having me.
It's gone down well, that, right?
Yeah, it has gone down well, that, I tell you, honestly. But look, just before we go, lads, I do want to quickly announce, obviously, Newcastle United coming out midweek, obviously, and saying that they're going to change the badge. Something that Middlesbrough are also doing to celebrate the 150th year. Sunderland, they're not changing the badge, but Newcastle and Middlesbrough will be changing their badge in the next 2 years. Middlesbrough will be doing it at the end of this next season. Newcastle looking to do it, obviously. Quick end thoughts, lads. Steve, how do you feel about a new badge coming to Newcastle?
Well, as long as it's not the same graphic designer who did this, I'll be over the moon.
I'm drawing it up.
The badge ultimately is, insignificant. From my perspective, it's what's in the shirt that counts. I don't really mind. Newcastle are doing the right thing. They're asking us what our opinion is. I still think that this has been in the planning for 12 months, probably something to do with Adidas as well. And I think Newcastle United's new badge will have probably already been decided. But Newcastle, as a football club now, play the game. They ask the questions. We give answers, and they go and do what they want anyway. But it is communication of a sort. What it'll be, who knows? But I'll embrace it. But I'll be happier if they spend money on big name players this summer. That's going to help us with another tilt and another trophy.
Well, Middlesbrough are also doing the same thing to celebrate 150 years. They've got constant meetings with the fans that do want to attend. There's constant communication there, but Middlesbrough will be changing their crest as well. Ted, before we leave, mate, your thoughts on Newcastle and Middlesbrough changing their crest, and do you think Sunderland would ever change their crest?
Well, we did. We did not that long ago. We changed from there it is. Now I've forgotten the other way around. Yeah, we changed to that. Late 90s, I think it was. To the crest that we have now. The Newcastle one, obviously, I sent Steve a kind of rough idea of maybe what they should have, which was like a guy boxing a horse and surrounded by sausage rolls either side. Apparently that won't be the design that goes through. I'm pretty sure of that. The Middlesbrough one, it all depends on what Steve Gibson's ex says they can have. And us, I would like to see us return to that, to be honest. I get what Steve's saying about it's what's in the shirt that counts, but I think the whole shipbuilding heritage of Sunderland is massively important. I love the current one. I'd like to see us have a return to that one. The good thing is that's the one that's going to be playing in at Wembley as well next week.
There you go, incredible.
Maybe Sunderland could have something to do with the mining heritage, John, because the place is the pit.
I honestly thought you were going to a nice place with that. Now we're going to end the show like that.
Too.
Yeah, what I mean.
Well,
look at Wembley.
Thank you so much for tuning in at Three's a Crowd, the Northeast Footy Show podcast. This may be the last show before summer. We will try and get back wrap up the summer, wrap up what happened at Wembley, wrap up how Newcastle finished. Stevie Wraith is a busy man, though. We will try and tie him down and get another podcast before we leave you for a summer. Middlesbrough fans, do not fret. There is news and more exciting times ahead, we pray. Good luck to Sunderland and those that are travelling. And if you've got a Wembley ticket, have a fantastic day out. Enjoy the day. And good luck to those travelling to Arsenal to watch Newcastle try and secure second place in the Premier League. Can you believe it? Eddie Howe, what an absolute masterclass. From us here at Three's a Crowd, is bye for now. Take care. We will see you next time.
Three's a Crowd podcast will return. That's not a threat. It's a promise.